Hello again everyone, Ken from Whittling Woods, back again with another whittling wood carving tutorial. Today we're going to use a piece of basswood here. You can see it's about 1 inch wide, it's 1 inch all the way around, and we're going to be carving the whittle in the first 3 inches. The whole piece is about 6 inches long, so technically you could get 2 little whittles out of this block here. We're going to be using a few different knives. I'm not sure if we're going to be using all of them or not. Main one here for the bulk removal was a knife made by one of my my good buddy here, Mark, a viewer of mine who had kindly made this and sent it to me a few weeks back. I've used it in one video, and it's a great little knife here. Well, it's not that little. It's a nice, decent, good knife for bulk removal, and it's. I mentioned it a number of times. It was quite a gift, and I really appreciate that. So we're going to be using that to do some of the bulk removal, and then either one of these, maybe both. I'm not 100% sure. This is an old Denny knife I have, and this is a North Bay forged knife I've used in a number of videos. So we're going to be using those to do this little whittle, and we're going to try it. I haven't tried this before, to whittle this character before. It's going to be a little cartoony character of Sherlock Holmes, actually. I did a little sketch mock-up of him. This is really a rough sketch, but I'm going to try to whittle something kind of like that in a 3-inch. You can see I divided it up into thirds. That's typically the way I do. We're going to do the head, the body, and then the legs. So a little character like that. Obviously we're going to have to whittle the pipe separately, but we'll give it a shot. So I haven't whittled it before, so this will be new for all of us here. But anyway, let me get everything set up and I'll be right back. First thing I like to do is just take down the edges a bit. So we're going to bring back all the edges on this piece just a bit here, both on all 4 corners essentially. So just kind of take those back. I'm going to, this is, I don't know if this is really technically a tutorial, more of a demonstration. I'll kind of talk a little bit here and there, but it's one of those things where you just kind of, if you like to watch somebody whittle, this is what you're going to get here. Okay, so for the head, I'm going to come. That was the 3rd mark. I'm going to come slightly below that for the bottom of the chin. The head itself will be mostly above the 3rd mark, but the chin will come down just slightly below that. So I'm going to just kind of put a little stop gut in here, kind of just define that boundary, and then essentially cut right up to that. I'm going to try. I'm trying to make this whittle not overly detailed. Something that maybe someone who is has whittled a little bit and wants to try a figure out. So kind of like so. And then for the hat, I'm going to come down maybe slightly more than a 1/3. And we're going to establish the bottom of the brim. I'm going to have him wearing the iconic hat that you see a lot of. So at least I'm going to try to whittle that. I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work, but we'll give it a shot. Again, it's kind of cartoony character of Sherlock Holmes. And then what I'm going to do is start bringing it back just a little bit, rounding the top out. So I'm just going to go around here and round it out. Okay, back again here. I just want to round and sort of, started to kind of round off the hat a bit, the top of the head, the hat. And it's going to kind of curve slightly around. So what I'm going to do is going to just in here I'm going to start defining those boundaries. I'm just going to kind of come around and bring it slightly round and down like that. Again, this is the first time I've carved this type of figure, so or this particular figure, so I'm kind of making it up as I go here. Okay, I kind of went around and started shaping the hat a bit. Now I'm going to come in here and start thinning the face out a bit. I forgot to mention too, you've noticed obviously I put center line marks across all planes on here, and I divided it up into thirds. I suggest you do that as a guide. I don't typically draw the full picture of the character on here. You know, you wind up carving it away for the most part, so it's, you know, draw it separately on a sketch if you want. I had done a video a little while back on sketching, you know, your whittles ahead of time, and sometimes it helps just to kind of, you know, give you an idea of what you're getting into. So all I'm doing here is just thinning the face a bit. We're going to get it to the peak here where the nose is going to be, and the character is going to have kind of the nose just peeking out from the other side of the hat. And you know, Sherlock Holmes has a prominent British nose, so we're going to try to keep that in, although it's a fairly small face here. But we're going to try to do that, and a fairly thin face too as well. I'm going to kind of come back over here and just start tucking this back a bit, right in the top over there. All right, I'm just going to do some rough out essentially first here, and then I'm going to come back and start dealing with the rest of the body. I'm kind of cutting up, you can see on the sides here, to get up to that third mark. And this is just going to define the sides of the face, the jowl area, so to speak. Now I'm just defining the back of the head. I like to get some of the, when I do my whittles especially, like this, I'm just kind of doing a rough sketch initially with my whittle. I'm not really, like I said, I haven't whittled this before, so this is kind of how I do it when I'm setting up for a whittle. So it's probably, maybe if you haven't whittled too much before, maybe it's good just to see someone who's figuring it out as they go. There's so many ways you can plan your figure out. You know, if you're doing a real detailed whittle or carving, you know, sometimes people work them out in clay first. I've actually done that when I was more into more detailed type whittles, with gouges and, you know, putting it on a carver's vise, and I would do it in some clay first, and then you know, go to the wood after that. What we're going to do is define the bottom of the whittle here, the bottom of his feet. So just a line right there. We're going to kind of just go around and do that. You can, you know, sometimes, and I probably should have done this with a saw initially, just put these kind of cut marks in, but you can, you know, you don't have to worry about it. You got a knife, you can just kind of notch them in. So that's all I'm doing. He's going to have like a bit of a coat on. It's going to come down, you know, towards his knees a bit more. We'll put his shoes right about, excuse me, his top of his shoes right about here or so, I'd say. So I'm just going to kind of come in here and cut out a little notch there. way I like to do it is to define the main boundaries. So we know his head, his bottom of his legs, and his shoes. His hat. They're main boundaries you work towards when you're whittling like this. At least the way I do it. I always find it's easier to kind of get your figure in a rough out state. They actually sell like people who do this professionally and teach lessons and all that kind of stuff that not not hack whittlers like me, but real professional carvers, and they actually sell roughouts of their designs, and you can purchase them. They're all kind of roughed out. They're actually done in a machine a lot of times, and with a router bit, and it roughs it all out, and then you just kind of come and finish it up. I took one class on that maybe 20 years ago or so by a character carver, and it was interesting. I don't whittle like that. I only did it that one time, and I know a lot of people like that, and it's it's pretty cool. They sell the rough outs, and you can purchase those and go at it. So there you go. We're going to have his hands in his pockets too, but I'm going to thin this out a bit more. I want it to kind of come up here. It's tucking that the upper body back. Now I'm going to start working on the back of the body. So I'm going to kind of come in here. What I think I'm going to do is establish the, now I'm thinking about it. Let's establish the bottom of his coat. I think that's going to be right about, right about like so. We're going to kind of come in around here, I believe. So we're going to kind of establish that boundary. Like I mentioned, if you establish the boundaries, you can kind of rough it out to that point, and then start putting in the detail. There may be more efficient ways to go about it, but that's the way I've been doing it for quite some time. It works for me, but as you start to do this, you're going to find ways that you like to go about it, and it's going to be slightly different than the way I do it, obviously. So you kind of see here we have sort of a coat area established. Or roughed out, I should say. What I'm going to do is start kind of just shaping the back over here a little bit where the legs are, rounding that out just a bit more. Let me just clean this up a bit. Just kind of give you a look at that so far. For his hands, the hands are going to be in a pocket on his coat here, so we're going to put the pocket. I'd say probably there's that third mark right there, and I think the way I kind of sketched it, he was they were kind of, it was slightly angled towards the back a little bit. So we're going to kind of come in here and just establish that little pocket area like that. And then over here, same thing. So we're going to go to about the halfway mark. So there you go. Just put a little cut in there. That's going to be where his arm goes into his pocket. Or, I said arm. His hands go into his pocket. All right. And then I'm just going to kind of start to bring this back in a little bit more. Swooping it kind of around over here. Alrighty. A little bit more on the back over here, I think. Let's take some of that off. Like so. We're probably going to have to take more than that too, but for now, that's probably not too bad. A little bit up at the top. So there we go. At this point, you could pretty much turn this into any type of figure you want that's got a coat and hat on. So there you go. There's your rough out. The tutorial all done here. Now go make it your own. Now we'll see if we can actually get this to look like a whittled version of good old Sherlock Holmes. My son and daughter-in-law gave me an illustrated copy of an illustrated book of Conan Doyle, the author of Sherlock Holmes, his stories about the Sherlock Holmes. It was 12 of the stories that Conan Doyle himself chose as his favorite Sherlock Holmes stories. And it's illustrated from, when Sherlock Holmes stories were published in the late 1800s, early 1900s, Conan Doyle published them in the Strand magazine, and so they had some of them had illustrations with them, and they carried these illustrations over into this book, and it's a really cool book. So I've been picking up stories every so often, and kind of inspired me to whittle this character. Let's see if we can thin the face out a bit more. We're going to leave a little room to have some kind of ear indication on the side over here, but we're going to thin this out. Alrighty. So I'll give you kind of a look here. Let me clean that up. That's where we're at this point. What I'm going to do now is switch to a bit of a smaller knife, I think, and we'll start working on adding a bit more detail to the to what we have so far. This is a great like bulk removal knife, and you can actually get a fair amount of little detail on there, because the way it thins out, you can use that narrow part to, you can see here, kind of scoop that out a bit to create that little curve, the swoop in the back that you would normally find on a person. So it's got multiple. It's really a nice knife. I mean, it's he did a great job on this one. So there you go. I'm going to grab the smaller knife, and I'll be right back. Here's the Denny knife. Unfortunately, I don't believe they make Denny knives anymore, but they're I haven't used it in a video in quite some time. If ever, I'm not sure. I probably did. I'm doing these videos for quite some time, so I'm sure I used it at one point, but I haven't used it recently, I know. But they're great knives. I have two or three of them. I know I have a bigger one than this. I think I might have a smaller one. I'm not 100% sure, but they're great knives, or were. Like I said, I don't believe they make them anymore. They might have been, somebody else might be making a similar version, or they might have combined them with some other type. But they're good knives. There you go. So let's split the kind of work here. We'll kind of split where the shoes would be here. So I'm just going to put a cut right down the middle, like so, and then just start to kind of round that out. I'm just going to go around and start, just rounding the shoes out a bit more. Again, rough out type of thing. That's what you're going. You're not going for detail at this point, Let's just concentrate on roughing things out a bit. Now we can also put a notch right up, defining the split in the legs over here. So we're just going to come in and put a little cut in there, like so, and then put a little notch here, a little stop cut there at the top of each shoe area, a little one there, and then kind of come back down and just notch that wood out. I've mentioned this in a number of videos. I don't work any area to completion and then move on to another area. I kind of just keep working the figure. I think most people who do this type of whittling, that's the way they do it. And I'm the same. Where you just kind of, there may be people out there who finish an area and move on to another area. I kind of just keep roughing out areas until I get them complete. Same thing on the back here. Let's put the center line. You can see the one that's left over on the bottom, so we're just going to kind of come up from that, give or take here, and just put a line in there. That's all. Notch, notch. And I kind of come down and I start to round the legs out. When you're doing work with the tip of a knife, sometimes it helps to have a shorter blade. That's why I switched off to the smaller knife. You can kind of do it with a longer blade. Just it's just a little more difficult to control. And since I'm doing it under a camera like this and not the typical way I would whittle, because I'm trying to keep it in view here, I want as much control as I can. Normally I'd have it up a little bit up closer to my eyes and my face, so I could see what I'm doing. Like most people, as you get older, your vision starts to go a little bit. So there you go. We're just kind of beginning to define the boundaries for the legs and everything. Like I said, most people I would assume who are watching this have probably done their fair share of whittling, so none of this is, I'm not I'm not teaching you anything you don't already know. But I know for me, and I'm sure other people are like this, sometimes, you know, I'm watching videos not so much to maybe learn something, you know, like how to whittle type of thing. You know, when I was first starting out, we didn't have videos, but what I watch them for, and I'm sure a lot of people, you know, may do this as well with some of my videos, is to get inspired. There's a few folks out there that that I still watch on a regular basis, and they inspire me. So maybe not necessarily to you know, learn the techniques of whittling, but you want to be inspired by people to get motivated to go do something. So if that's why you're watching, then that's great. I'm happy to hear that. And if you're a beginner and you're just starting out, and projects like this seem at first maybe too daunting, although it's really, honestly, even a beginner could manage it if you take your time. But I do have a lot of beginner gear tutorials that you know, take a much simpler figure. Although, like I said, this is actually really simple. This is not some real detailed stuff. So there you go. What I'm going to do here is work on the back of the hand here a little bit, just to define, excuse me, I keep saying hand, the back of the arm here. I'm going to come from where it goes into the pocket and just put a little bit of a stop cut here, and then notch, kind of come in here and get rid of some of that excess wood, just to define the back of the hand a bit more. Again, boy, I'm messing up here. Arm, it's kind of like so. And then we'll trim this back a little bit as well. So we're just defining the boundaries of that, you know, his lower arm and elbow area. Like so. You can see, kind of gives it the look of an arm going into a pocket. Whittling, and I mentioned this too, and you know, I know I can get repetitive sometimes, but whittling, wood carving, whatever, really the whole thing is just a matter of defining planes in wood. I know that, you know, so of course it does, you know, it seems so, but that's essentially all you're doing, you know. Don't think of it as a complete figure when you're doing individual parts. Think of it, how am I going to define this plane here separate from this plane over here? This part over here, this piece of wood over here needs to be, you know, it's a different plane, and I need to define these two boundaries because they need to appear to be separate. So how do I go about doing that? And that's, I know it's common sense, and you know, obviously I probably don't need to tell people that, but sometimes when you think of it that way, you know, you don't necessarily think of it as arms and coats and all that kind of stuff. Just figure out how am I gonna define those planes a bit better. That's all. So something like that. And we're initially we have kind of an arm going into a pocket there. And I'll do the same thing on the other side, but you know, I'm not going to make you kind of sit through all that. What I do now too is also kind of come in here and angle this up a little bit. So I just want to kind of make, you know, define it where the elbow joint is just a bit more, you know. So I can kind of come back in here and come back in here, just to define again this plane here, the fore, you know, for lack of a better term, we'll call it the forearm plane, and this the upper arm plane. And we're going to, you know, want to make those look slightly separate. And then another plane over here. So in this case, we have, you know, three planes kind of coming together. And, you know, planes, I mean surfaces, whatever you want to call them. So we have this surface here, we have this surface here, and this surface here. So you go about, you use whatever technique, whatever tool you have at your disposal when you're doing this to define those boundaries. Kind of like that. And then we'll kind of take this like so. And we may or may not have to define it up in the back a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes we can just have it play right into one another. And we'll clean all this up as we go around. So there you go. We kind of got a bit of the arm here. I'm going to just tuck in the shoulder a bit more here, right around the back, and a little bit around the front as well. All right. Okay, I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side, and when I get that done, I'll be right back. Okay, kind of rough the other arm in there like so. Let's work on the face a little bit here. So again, I'm just working towards thinning it out. I guess the way I look at it is, and I did a video, kind of the bust of Lincoln, back on February 12th, around Lincoln's birthday. And I was mentioning about the thin face. Sherlock Holmes is also kind of a thin face character, so we want to make sure we whittle that down a bit. Prominent nose, prominent jaw, I would imagine, but relatively thin face. So I kind of take that down a bit, and I'm going to put the bottom of the nose right about here. I'd say about halfway between the brim of the hat and that, because I want it to have a prominent jaw. So, and then again, it's going to be, the nose is going to be tucking from underneath the hat. So you can go on the side over here. You can kind of see where I'm at. So I'm just going to put a stop cut in here, right there, and start cutting up to that. You can kind of see where I'm at here. And we're going to give everybody, I apologize sometimes if I don't stop and give everybody a look, so they can kind of, if they're trying to whittle the same character, they can kind of get to this point. But there you go, there's the side view, and there's the front view, and our back view. We're leaving wood in here for the ears, but probably not. I probably don't need that much, so I'm going to take this back just a little bit more the way I'm looking at it now. And I think I want to bring the side of the face back a little bit further too as well. So there you go. All right. And then we're going to come in here with our knife, and we're just going to connect from here down to where that nose line is. So just kind of go straight in the wood. You can kind of see here, I'm going straight in here. Over there, and same thing over here, straight in the wood. You can kind of see the two little cuts. And then come up underneath the hat over here, put a stop cut, and then just start to remove a little bit of wood to make that nose stand out. You can kind of see there. And do the same thing on this side as well. Come back in here and just remove that wood. We want that nose to stand out a bit. All right. Then we can kind of come in here and start shaping the nose. My view of this character, Sherlock Holmes, is that he has a relatively thin but kind of beaky and long nose. So we got it kind of a little too chubby right now. But we can. It's easier to remove wood than put wood back. It just doesn't go back as easy as it is removed. One of the big rules of whittling and wood carving. Wood you take away, for the most part, with rare exceptions, stays away. And try to keep control of the knife when you're cutting up to these type of things over here. It's a relatively small chunk of wood right here, and if you push real hard, and if your knife's not sharp, you're going to be pushing, chances are you're going to slip and slice off his nose. So keep your knife sharp, and you won't have that issue. I'm trying to bring the nose back underneath the hat a little bit more. You can kind of see from the side here. Let me get rid of that one. I want it to kind of be a little kind of beaky, I guess you could say. And we'll work on getting a little bit more detail on that. I might pull the North Bay Forge knife. That's even smaller blade than this one, and it's great for getting in there. Although, in theory, you could whittle this with just one knife. If I was to choose one knife to do this with, I'd want maybe a blade that's slightly longer than this to do it on. Not too much longer, but maybe slightly longer. There you go. And then what I like to do, again, I don't think I'm done with the nose here by any stretch. I still got to put nostrils in and clean it up a bit more. But what I'm going to do here is kind of create a bit of a smile line on the side over here. So what I want to do is come in slightly. His nostrils are going to be right about, I'm guessing, right about here or so. And I guess we could put a little notch in there, maybe. Why not? Let's start with that. Kind of like so. All right. And then maybe same thing on this side over here. I'll come in and let's see where I went to here and here. So put a little notch in there. It's just defining the, kind of separating the nose a bit. Again, planes. So we kind of defined that just a bit better. I know it's kind of difficult maybe to see. Looks like one of my lights has decided to that it's needs to be recharged, so I'm going to go do that. When it's all recharged, I'll be right back. Okay, I charged the light up. When you do these YouTube videos, you wind up having to use a lot of light because in order to keep the focal length pretty long where it stays in focus, and I'm not doing an autofocus, I'm doing a manual focus, it stays in focus. You have to have a pretty, the f-stop has got to be pretty high and it requires a lot of light. So anyway, probably didn't need to know all that, but here we are. So what I'm going to do here is form those smile lines, and I'm just going to come to where those nostril cuts are. You can kind of see right there, and I'm just going to put a little cut right in there, and what I do is I come around and I cut underneath the nose to deepen that, and I just kind of take that. You can see that little triangle that was formed. I just kind of come in there and I start removing that triangle. So kind of like so, and then I come back around underneath the nostril area and I just take out. There's another little tiny triangle in there. It's really hard to see, I know. But I come in there and I kind of notch that out. Something like that. And then we'll do the same thing on this side as well. Here, I'll come around here where the nostril line is, and I'll just put a little stop cut. Come back underneath the nose. And you got that little triangle again. And you just kind of come around and move that away, and then get that little triangle by the nostril right there as well. So it kind of sets the nose back a little bit as well. Now it doesn't sit right on top of the face. And with that, I think I'm going to take this back a little bit more on either side. Just to kind of define where the ears are going to be. So for the ears, what I do is I'll just kind of come in here where approximately where the mouth and nose kind of meet. You can kind of see here where I am. And I'm going to just put a stop cut right there, straight across. And I'm going to kind of come up to that and remove the wood. So you can kind of see from the side I did that. There you go. And then the same thing over here. We're going to come approximately the same location. I'm going to try to angle it. You can kind of see I'm sort of below where the nose and kind of where the mouth and between the mouth and the nose, I guess, is the best way. You can kind of see how it is over there from the front. And then again, I'm just going to carefully cut up to that. What we're essentially doing is leaving a chunk of wood on either side of the head over there that we're eventually going to turn into ears. It looks kind of silly now, but we'll fix it up. So what you want to do here is if you can kind of see, there's a remnant of the halfway mark. Let me grab my pen here, or a pencil, and I'm going to kind of come in here. We're going to start the ear right there, almost at the halfway mark. So the ear is going to be back in here. Same thing on this side. Here's about the halfway mark. Kind of like so, and kind of like so. I'll just get this in a shape that's consistent with the other side over there. And then over here we're going to come in and we're just going to again go straight into the wood, just like so, all the way down to the bottom, kind of like almost what we did with the nose. And then notch up there, come back and remove that piece of wood. This will thin the face out a bit, as you can see, and it'll leave a little chunk of wood in there that we can eventually shape into an ear. Not an overly detailed ear, but an ear nonetheless. Like I said, it's going to go right up to where the hat is. So there you go. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side again. You don't have to watch it. But the other thing I do is I also come around the back and I do the same thing. I'm just going to come right in here, like so. Another stop cut underneath the hat. And again, like I mentioned all along here, just defining different planes. So now we know we need a plane over here and we need a separate plane over here. So we just defined those two planes. And now we have this big chunk of wood that we can play with and turn into an ear, or something that looks somewhat like an ear. All right, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So once I get that, then I'll be right back. Okay, so we did the same thing essentially on that side. We created a little indication of an ear over there. Now we're going to work on kind of narrowing the face out a bit more and getting ready just to put a little indication of a mouth in there. I'm going to have somewhere to hold the pipe. So I'm going to come down here. All I'm doing, as you can see, I'm kind of just bringing it more to a removing some wood in here to kind of narrow things down just a bit. And I'm going to come in over here as well. Kind of define that jaw a little bit better. I just put some marks in here to remind me I got to put a little collar on his coat over there. I'll probably wind up whittling some of it away as I'm doing this, but I wanted to remind myself not to remove too much wood over there. Alrighty. For the mouth here, I'm going to remove a little bit of wood doing these little scooping cuts like that. I don't know if you can kind of see it from the side. I'm trying to create a little bit of an indentation right in there, just a little bit. Just makes it it's just the natural way your lower lip and kind of chin come together. And then we're going to put a mouth line right about almost at the center point, maybe slightly above center to give the illusion of a slightly more prominent jawline, chin. I'm going to go straight across with this, and I'm going to cut carefully up to it and down to it. Kind of like so. I'm just going to kind of carefully remove a little bit of wood on the top lip area. Now, I'm going to whittle that so he has a, so he's can hold a pipe, because I think that's another defining character component of the Sherlock Holmes figure. So right in here somewhere we're going to put a little, just removing a little bit of wood so it'll hold a pipe in here. Kind of like so. What I want to do here is thin this out a bit more. So I'm going to just kind of take the sides back a little bit more. There you go. And kind of give him a bit of a Sherlock Holmes look to him, I guess. I'm not going to carve full eyes in here because I don't really think, I want it to kind of look like they're mostly under the brim of his hat there. What I'm going to do now, though, is just taper back the ears a little bit. So from the front here to the back, I'm just going to kind of come in here and take a little bit of a scooping cut. Then I'm going to kind of round out the ear a bit more to make it look more natural. Something a bit along that line. Something like that. You know, for the time being. We're going to, maybe it's a little bit more detail in there. I don't want his ears to stick out too much. There you go. What I'll probably do is also, as I'm trimming these ears back a little bit, I'm going to put a little line about to kind of where the bottom of the nose is, so you can see over here, just like so. Just a little stop cut there, and then cut up to that. And then I'm going to come down along the side again, and just a little stop cut there as well. It's a sideburn, basically. That's all we're doing. Just relieving a little bit of wood, so when we paint it, we can paint it like you know, a hair color over there. Make it look like he's got sideburns. If you can see that, but there you go. Kind of like that. So there we are. That's the character so far. And I'm going to do the same thing in terms of the ear on the other side as well, but I won't make you sit through that. You've seen it once. There you go. That's kind of where we are at this point. I might take this back still a little bit further. I think the lower part of the jaw should be, or the part of the jaw that's towards the ear should be just a bit thinner than it is right now. You can kind of see I'm taking this area in just a little bit more. Kind of like so. All right, I'm going to finish up this this ear, or at least, you know, rough it to that point on the other side. And once I get that done, I'll be right back. Kind of mimic the same thing on this side over here with respect to the ear. Just giving him a bit of an ear and a sideburn. Again, these are, you know, they're relatively small figures, so, you know, your detail is going to be kind of limited to some extent. I mean, you know, obviously, right? So there you go. There's kind of where we're at. I'm going to kind of shape the hat just a little bit more. I'm kind of done with the head a little bit. We might put a little indication of, you know, detail on the ear there, but not much. I'll just bring this top back just a little bit. I typically don't like doing the brim of the hat until I'm pretty much far along here, because it, you know, it can get banged up and chipped. It's, you know, it's kind of it's going to be fairly thin when you're doing hats. So the brim can be kind of thin, so, you know, it could chip off or break or whatever the case may be. So keep that in mind. And that's all I'm doing here. I'm just kind of, I'm not completely finishing the hat. I'm just kind of rounding it off for proportion's sake, because sometimes I need to look at the figure proportionally. To me, the hat right now seems a little too big, and well, it is a little too big, and so we need to scale that back just a bit more. So what I want to do is create a bit of a brim here and a bit of a brim on the back. So I'm going to kind of come in here and scoop out a little wood. Like so. I'm also going to bring this back just a little bit, I think. What we could do is look at the jacket here. So let's start that. I'm going to put a cut. You can see I made a line in there. I'm going to cut right on that line there. And like so. And then I'm going to come back around on this side here, which would be the figure's right side. And I'm just going to kind of remove a little bit of the wood. Just along that cut like that. So it looks like one side is maybe tucking underneath the other. If you can kind of see. But that's all. And then you can kind of come back in here and, you know, add as little or as much detail in these little things as you want. There you go. And then maybe on the bottom here we'll just kind of tuck it around as well. Cut a little notch in there. We can carry it all the way through to where the pants are, I think. Since his hands are in his pocket, I'd like to leave a little bit of wood that kind of bulges out just a bit to give the impression that there's, you know, that he's got his hands in his pocket. So I kind of come underneath a little bit and I just remove a little bit of wood. Just subtle like that, that's all. And then for the collar, we're going to kind of come in here, put a stop cut and another stop cut, and then just start removing the wood up to that on either side, just to create a bit of a, like a V underneath there, like so. And then I'm going to kind of come around the sides. I'm going to do the same thing. I'll probably carry it all the way up along the shoulder as well. Just define the collar, just like that. All right, I might tuck it in just a little bit more. And then I'm going to just keep carrying that around to the back, right around. Kind of like that. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'll finish that up, and when I do that, we'll come back and maybe throw a little bit more detail in here and hopefully finish this one up. Alrighty, I'll be right back. Okay, here's where we are in the figure here. We kind of went around, did the collar, and at this point we're getting to the phase where we can call it pretty good. I'm just going to put a little indication of a bottom of the eye. I'm going to come in here. You can kind of see. I'm just going to put a little stop cut right there and cut up to it. That's it. That's all I'm going to do. And maybe a little notch down. It's really just kind of the bottom portion of the eye. That's all. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just kind of come in here. I don't know if you can kind of see where I'm at. And a little stop cut. And just kind of cut up to it a little bit. That's really all I need to do for the eyes. And then for the hat, we're going to come back here Actually, before I do the hat, let's do something with the ears here. We're going to put a little cut in here and a little cut over here, like that. And then I'm just going to kind of thin that triangle out just a bit. Something along those lines. That's it. Not going to do too much on the ears there, because again, with small figures like this, you know, the detail kind of gets lost, and sometimes you run into the problem, at least I find, that they begin to look too busy, and I want just enough in there that I'm happy with the way it looks, and I feel that it reads as an ear. You know, you can certainly go into more detail, but I think you know, with little figures like this, it's kind of all you need to do. Something like that. It's basically a little triangle, like a little chip cut kind of thing, and you're just removing some wood. So the other thing we're going to do here is to find the back of the hair. So I'm going to come right, as you can see, right about here. I'm going to put a little stop cut in and do that. And we're just going to kind of come right around the back, just to define the bottom of the figure's hair. Kind of like that, and then we'll thin the neck out just a bit underneath that, so you can kind of see how that goes on the other side there. All right, I'm going to get the other side set up like this, and I'll be right back. We kind of did the hair on both sides here, defined that, and now we're going to start working on the hat a bit. I'm just going to form a bit of the brim. The brim's on the front and the back. I'm just going to kind of come in here and kind of scoop up a little wood. That's all. Like that. And then the same thing on the back here. You can probably take this down a little bit. I think it sticks out too much. Yeah. And just kind of come in here. Same thing. Scoop out just a bit of wood. Kind of like that. And then we can kind of notch the top back just a bit. I think it sits up too high. Kind of like that better. On the sides here, grab my pencil. They kind of come like so. There's a piece here and a piece here that I guess buttons up at the top. We're not going to show the button and all that, but well, maybe we'll try to whittle that in just to add that kind of detail to it. So I'm going to bring that, actually I'm going to bring it right up, I think to the top, right around, kind of like so. And then we're just going to create a little bit of a indication, and to keep it in the camera here, I'm just going to make a little line here, just like so. And then just carefully remove the wood up to it. Kind of like that. I know it's hard to see, but you get the idea of what I'm going for here. And then, you know, when it just creates a slightly different plane in the hat. So when you're painting it, you can maybe it'll may or may not show up all that well, but that's kind of it. And I'll do the same thing back over here. And so I'm just going to kind of come in here with a stop cut And then I'm just going to come back and carefully move that wood up to that stop cut. And for the top, we're just going to kind of bring these up so they sort of overlap each other on both sides. That's all. There you go. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side, just like we did on that side too. And when I finish it up, I'll be right back. Okay? Just kind of put those little flaps on the hat over there, just to add, you know, a little bit of detail on there. That's all. And I can come back, maybe remove, obviously, some of the pencil lines there. And now I just kind of go around, and I did cut back over here on the arm, just to create more of a joint here. I just kind of come in from the side over here, and I just take a little bit of wood out, just to create that bend in the elbow over there. You can kind of see on the back. And I did it on both sides. Then I kind of come back in and I taper those cuts in by removing the wood like that. That's all. Just looks like he's got his elbows bent like that. And I bring the top part forward just a little bit by whittling it in that direction. So there you go. Then I kind of come around here and I start, now I start just doing the cleanup and finish work, where it's just rounding out the arms a bit. Since he's a dapper English gent, I'm not going to put a lot of wrinkles and creases and all that. I want him to look well put together. I will add a little bit of a crease in the arm over here though, because I just think it looks a little bit better to indicate that. So I just put two little cuts and kind of cut right to them like so. Just like that. Normally I'd put little indications of maybe 3 or 4 buttons, but these are going to be really smaller buttons, and it's going to look sloppy in terms of the final appearance, because I think, you know, in order to do it whittling, the buttons have to be on the larger side. And this is like a, you know, it's Sherlock Holmes. He's got a well-made coat, and he's going to have fine, nice buttons on there. So we'll put little dabs of paint to represent those buttons. Again, we want to keep as much of, I don't want to show a lot of creasing or you know, fabric folds and bends, is, you know, any more than is necessary in the figure, because I think it looks better, reads better as a character like Sherlock Holmes if it is kind of neat and clean and well pressed, so to speak. So there you go. We thinned him out a bit. I kind of come back in here. I don't, you know, he's a relatively thin character, but I would imagine he'd have relatively broad shoulders. So with that, we're pretty much done. I'm just going to go through here and I think just clean up, because I don't really think I'm going to add anything new. When I do my cleanup, I just kind of come around and you know, I'll look for you know, piece of wood like right in here. You can kind of see it's a little sloppy, so I'm going to kind of come in there and remove any excess wood. So that's kind of where we're at. I want to call for the most part done. I do have to do a little pipe, and I'm going to turn up his, you can kind of see his nose over here. What I do is turn the nostrils up just a bit on the bottom. It'll thin out the nose, and so kind of like that, I think. And so let's look at it from the side. Got a big, maybe his nose is a little too big, but again, probably better on the larger side than the smaller side, because if I want, I can take away some wood. But again, these are characters, so we want to emphasize certain features, and I think Sherlock Holmes would have a relatively prominent nose. Prominent people have prominent noses. No, that's not true, but he does not have a small nose. There you go. I'm just going to do some cleanup, and before I paint it, I'll give you a look when it's all said and done here. Like I said again, I'm not really going to add any more detail. Just kind of go through and clean up some of the rough cuts, and I'll be right back. Okay, I figured I'd hop back in here real fast. You can see this probably bit off more than I can chew with doing this pipe. I'm just actually cut the pipe out, or cut this basic shape out on a little scroll saw, and then I'm trying to whittle it back. It's going to go into his mouth eventually, like so. So I just wanted to kind of show you. I'm not going to bore you with the details because it's really just a lot of tedious carving. I get a block of wood and I just kind of hold it, and I take my knife and I start just trimming off small bits and pieces, and it's really too small to even to video it because, as you can see, it's a tiny little thing. And I'm hoping that when all is said and done, I'll actually have a little pipe that I can put in his mouth. But I'm going to finish that up, and I will be right back. Okay, there you go. Whittling's all done on this one. I stuck the pipe in his mouth, and he's all set. The only detail I added, as you can see, is just a little bit around the pockets there. Just made like a little flap on the pockets, but that's really about it. It was I think it's a whittle that a lot of people could do. So give it a shot if you're interested in doing it. It's a fun little project to do of a pretty much an iconic character. So at least my interpretation of it in a 3-inch whittle. So there's the front view. And there's the profile view, and there's the rear view. The pipe is just, stuck in his mouth. It's not glued in at this point. I'm going to paint it up, and then I'll glue everything together. But that's about it. Alrighty, I hope you enjoyed that one. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I hope you all have a great whittling week. Talk to you soon. Take care.